Jim Booth has been a professional truck driver for over 45 years. He's also an owner-operator with his own fleet of 9 trucks. So he knows what it means to save money and what it means to have to compete with much larger fleets. A few years ago, Jim Booth got behind the wheel of a truck that was getting 7 miles per gallon. He made no changes to the equipment. He just applied his driving skills and got over 10.5 miles per gallon, 50% better fuel economy. And he stayed on schedule. That's part of the reason Jim Booth also works for Caterpillar. He's their spokesman for smart driving practices.
Lots of drivers ask me why they should try to save fuel. There are plenty of good reasons. If you're an owner-operator like me, saving fuel improves your profits. If you drive for someone else, it makes you a more valuable employee. Either way, saving fuel is good for our country. When you improve your fuel economy, you decrease pollution. And saving fuel reduces our country's dependence on expensive foreign oil. Saving fuel also proves you're a true driving professional. In fact, the Maintenance Council says the very best drivers use 35% less fuel than some rookies. Depending on what kind of hauling you do, that could save nearly $6,000 per truck every year. Saving fuel isn't that hard. It's mostly common sense and good time management. For example, as soon as I turn the key, I start using fuel. So saving fuel begins before I get into the truck. I look at a map, figure out the best route, and how many miles it is. I divide the number of miles by the number of hours I can legally drive. Believe it or not, the result is true miles per hour, the speed I have to average over the whole trip to get there on time. And it's usually a lot lower than you think it's going to be. Then, before I take off, I do a thorough walk-around inspection. I always check the pressure in all tires. Underinflated tires wear out too fast, and they waste fuel. They also may not grip as well on wet roads. And, as everybody knows, an underinflated tire is trouble waiting to happen. A breakdown on the road really eats up your time. Once my pre-trip inspection is done, I can get going.
Save fuel before you get behind the wheel. Plan your route. Budget your time. Inspect your vehicle. Make sure tire pressures are correct.
I depress the clutch, but not the accelerator. Then I turn the key and start it up. With today's multi-viscosity oils, there's no need to let it idle very much. Besides, idling is one of the biggest wasters of fuel. And with today's engines, idling is harder on the engine than shutting it off or starting it up. For one thing, idling does not maintain the correct engine temperature. And it dumps oil into the exhaust manifold and turbocharger. This wasted oil burns off when you increase RPMs and power. When you see trucks pulling out of rest stops with smoke coming out of the exhaust, it's that oil that's burning. As soon as the engine is running smoothly, I head on out. I go slowly at first. The higher my RPMs, the more fuel I use. Progressive shifting is something everybody has to learn through experience. Basically, I don't have to use all the gears, and I don't have to run at high RPMs. In the old days, diesels ran best near the top of their range, but now most of them have plenty of power and better fuel economy near the lower end. I try never to run over 1,500, and most of the time I'm down around 1,200. That saves fuel, and with modern engines, you're not lugging them at all. By planning ahead, I don't have to race to be on time. With today's bigger engines, you can probably average 55 miles per hour, even going uphill. But if you try to go 80, you may not have enough power to do it all the time. You'll probably end up averaging only 65. And that extra 10 miles per hour could cut your fuel economy by 1 mile per gallon or more. Do that all the time, and you'll increase your fuel bill by 20%. Speed is hard on fuel, hard on the truck, and hard on you. I used to have stomach trouble, had to carry antacids all the time, and I used to arrive worn out and irritable. When I cut my speed, that ended. I don't have to stop as often, and I enjoy the scenery more. I also use cruise control because it lets me relax, and it does a great job of saving fuel. With some cruise controls, hitting the buttons momentarily will increase or decrease speed about 1 mile per hour. so I can fine-tune my cruise speed. I also try to coast on exit ramps instead of burning fuel to get to the end, then burning brakes to stop. And if you have one of these new trucks with a computer display, it can really help. Check it from time to time. You'll find it keeps you focused and gives you feedback on how well you're doing. Delays on the road are a fact of life, but you can avoid a lot of them and the need to speed. I try to get to truck stops early when there aren't such long lines at the pumps and when there are more spaces to park. I also try to avoid rush hour traffic. I turn in early, then leave early. There's less traffic, it's cooler, and I get to see a lot of nice sunrises.
Save fuel behind the wheel. Minimize idling. Optimize speed. Practice progressive shifting. Use cruise control. Watch computer displays. Make good use of time. As Jim told us, going faster uses more fuel. But does it really get you more miles or get you there faster? To find out, we put an experienced driver behind the wheel of a simulator. Why a simulator? Because he can drive as fast as he possibly can and not have to worry about getting a ticket or having an accident. Our driver made 2 trials. In the first, he drove the way he normally does, carefully, skillfully, and at reasonable speeds. In the second, he went as fast as he possibly could.
In the first trial, our test driver had an average speed of 55 miles per hour, went 46 miles, used 6.5 gallons of fuel, and averaged 7.1 miles per gallon. In the second, he tried to do about 80, but only averaged about 65 because of traffic and hills. Once again, he went 46 miles, but this time he used over 8 gallons of fuel and averaged only 5.7 miles per gallon. If he went at the higher speed all day, it would cost either him or his company about an extra 30 gallons of fuel. As an owner-operator, I'd rather keep that money in my pocket than give it to a truck stop. And even if I drove for someone else, saving that much fuel would make me more valuable than some other drivers. Besides, as I said before, wasting fuel sends our money overseas to foreign oil producers. One of the marks of great professional drivers is their fuel economy. My suggestions: plan ahead. Keep tires at the proper inflation pressure. Minimize idling. Master progressive shifting. Travel at a safe, sensible speed. And improve your time management. That's how you can save fuel and get to be one of America's best. See you on the road.